Welcome to the MVP show. Today I'm happy to chat with Abe Saldana, first-time MVP, and we talk about his journey to becoming an MVP, his career path, his current interests, and more. I hope you'll pick up a thing or two, from him and understand how perhaps you could apply it to yourself and your journey to becoming an MVP. So yeah, that's if it's a goal for you. For full show notes, visit nz365guy.com/129. Now, let's have a chat with Abe. Abe, welcome to the MVP show.
Hi, Mark. How are you? Thank you for having me in the show.
Excellent. Good to have you on here. Tell us a bit about where you hail from in the world.
Well, right now I'm in the Dallas area, Dallas, Texas area in the United States. So that's where I base, since almost 2000. So I've been here, for a while. So love to, the area. I can fly everywhere, just one hop. So that's the reason why I'm still here.
Tell us what made you choose, though, to live in Texas? Where did you come from originally?
Well, I'm actually from Mexico. If you go, from Texas, you go straight down in Mexico. I'm actually from the border. I'm nearby, Monterrey, and then actually, between Monterrey and Matamoros, there's another city called Reynosa, and that's actually where I born and grew up in there until 1998. Where we decided to move into the U.S. And that's like, initially we just crossed the bridge, we went from Mexico to the United States, and then, it spent, some time there in the border, and then decided I'm going to be in the technical side, and into the IT. And it was actually so difficult in that area. So I tried to move into, major cities. San Antonio was the first option. The second option was Austin. The third option was Houston. And the last option was Dallas. So, I did all kinds of travel around those cities, trying to find a job. And then finally I got a job in Dallas, where they hired me on the spot and they want me to start working on, I went for an interview on Wednesday. They want me to start working on Monday. So, that pretty much I moved myself, the first week. And then my wife and my son and my daughter, later on, they come into the Dallas area. So they joined me, finally moving.
So were you working on customer projects or were you working for a Microsoft partner?
Neither. I was actually working at that time. I was working a lot more into the DBase 3, type of language, Clipper, Fox Pro, Fox Base. So that's actually how they hired me. Then later on, pretty much, I think I started with the Microsoft products around 2000, where I actually switch from the, X bases or the D bases, into the Visual Basic 6 at that time. So it was actually the transition. And then later on, I did the transition to the .NET world. Initially I was trying to do the transition between, Visual Basic and Visual Basic .NET. Where I get all confused, like, many other people. So I decided okay, I'm going to jump in from brand new. So I decided to jump into the C# world. And pretty much from 2002, up to now, I've been just doing C# now. So, and then moving to, 2006, that's when I started moving my career into, from the development consultant, from the, senior solution architect on the .NET and ASP.NET and web development. I moved myself into the more into the Dynamics world. When I started actually with the Dynamics CRM version 1.2, so a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. So what made you then decide to pivot into Dynamics?
It was interesting. It was a conversation with my CIO. I was a senior web developer on the company, and then we were actually having lunch and says, "Hey, I'm gonna need to have somebody working with a call center." I was working on a company, and he says, "We need somebody to work in the call center. I know you're actually busy, but I want you to get into this, and let me know if you can take care of it." Okay. So the first conversation was actually with a partner that they were actually doing the installation for Dynamics 3, for Dynamics CRM. And they did the installation and went horrible. At 1.2, it took forever. And, at the end, it didn't actually was exactly what I was looking for. So the guy told me, you know what, you need to wait. There's going to be in a few months, is going to be the release for version 3. And I think that's what you're looking for. Okay. So finally we wait for that one. We did the installation. It went a lot smoother. And then I started looking into the customizations. And that's where I get hooked onto this, because most of the time as a developer, you build the platform from the ground up and then you start thinking about the business process at the very end. So in this case, we start looking at the business process instead of thinking about the platform. And I love that. So that's when I did my switch. I started actually getting heavily involved into the Dynamics world and then heavily involved into CRM. And then pretty much, it took over from there.
Wow, 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 wow. Okay, so 3.0 was when you really started liking the product. Would that be right?
Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
like a love-hate situation at that point. I hated it because it was so difficult to install, so difficult to maintain. But I love it because of the flexibility that it gives me that, I don't have to worry about too much on the database side and I don't have to worry too much on, the infrastructure side. And, everything was available for me through the UI. And I like that. The configuration was a lot better than, just trying to put everything together on a web page or, trying to do kind of like a coding behind and things like that. So,
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. So tell me a bit about your journey to becoming an MVP. How did that come about?
that was actually a really interesting situation also because, I started trying to become an MVP like, I don't know, 5 years now. And then, it was a little bit, I say, difficult for me to understand the process, initially because, most of the time that the people that I talk said, oh yeah, do this, do this, do this, like, typical, go to the forums, answer the forums, create your own blog, create your own blogs or, participate on the blogs or, participate in the community, do presentations, do conferences, and all of this. However, they never told me that I have to keep track on links, on videos, on recordings, and the dates, and all of that information that you have to go. So, on my case, was a little bit like, yes, I've been doing a lot of things for the community, but I'm not tracking everything correctly. So that was actually one of the biggest problems that I keep getting into a situation where I put in the information and I was not able to track everything. I would put where I put my links for my videos, but I never track how many people actually see saw the videos and things like that. So and I at one point I think that I was a little bit discarded or discouraged about the process, but I said at the end, I will continue doing this, if I get the MVP or if I don't get the MVP. So this is because I started liking it, because, I'm helping people, I'm participating with the community, I'm, getting involved with the community. And sometimes a lot of people tell you, yes, this is actually not a sprint. This is a marathon. It takes time. It takes the whole year, to collect all that information, put it in, and then somebody actually, help you to, the nomination. Like, okay, well, not a problem. So on my case, it took me like, 4 years of, learning per se, until some a friend of mine, Pablo Peralta from the Uruguay side, from the Spanish community, he helped me. It's like, okay, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna mentor you, and he says, I'm gonna tell you what you need to do. I'm like, okay, number one, start tracking everything. I'm like, okay, I'm doing that. No, track everything. I mean, but he gave me one thing, because one of the things that we do is, in my case, I work with a lot of people on the community and a lot of customers, and then with the customers, we do also pre-sales events, which can be considered part of that, the MVP world, because you're doing the community and you're not charging for that from your company. So he says track everything. So I start tracking everything. And then, one of the things that he mentioned is, you have to be careful on all your recordings, all your tracking, it have to be consistent. It have to have, that you do something on this month, you do something on this month, and, and continue going into the tracks, tracking all the information and then upload it into the site and then make sure that it's correct. And then, you keep, a good record, every month that you're actually doing something until you fill the year. Like, that makes sense. So that's actually one of the things that I did that, it helped me also to get the MVP. I think that's, keep tracking on everything and make sure that everything is, recorded correctly and then, uploaded correctly. And then on top of that, he says, you need to do something big. Like, and I said, what's something big? Something big. Says, yeah, you need to participate in the community, but you do something big. You go to the events, you do present on the events, you create a training module for the events, you do something big that where actually not only helps you to be presenting and expose yourself, but also, be, part of the leadership. You have to take command and things like that. So, oh, that makes sense. So, we started working on that one last year. in the year before a little bit. However, I think this year what it helps me a lot is that I'm doing a lot of app in a days, the Power Apps app in a days. Even that I started on the dynamic side, now I'm actually switching a little bit into the Power Platform. However, I can see both actually be very integrated into each other. So I think, right now I've seen a lot of people from the SharePoint world moving into the Power Platform. But I hope like for probably my next year, we're going to see a lot of all the Dynamics people moving into the Power Platform now, they're still in transition, but we're going to get a lot more, into that. So that's how I started with the app in a days. We make 6 app in a days with Microsoft, and I've been doing 10 exclusively from my company to our customers. So pretty much, 16 app in a days that I've been doing through, from the beginning of the year, from January up to now. So
wow, that's a heck of a lot.
It's a lot. And trust me, I can talk for 8 hours. I know for sure that I can talk for 8 hours, constantly and continuously. The nice thing is, sometimes I have to pause, so the customers or the people that actually on the event, they can do the labs. And then, I go into all their questions and, and recommendations and things like that. So
nice.
So I think that's, what helps me, overall to, get my MVP, because when I started actually submitting the app in a days, I think that's where I get more recognition. I'm not saying that everybody has to do an app in a day, but, something big, that's something consistent that you can actually do in a way for the community.
And so do you feel you're leaning more to Power Apps nowadays and less on Dynamics? What do you think your split is?
Exactly. I think that I did, on my case, I'm always trying to be on the next thing. What is the next thing? When I was on the dynamic side, I wanted to be in the configuration. I want to be into the integration. Then later on, I started going into the cloud base, moving everybody to the cloud. Then later on, I started actually going into the Azure services for integrations and things like that. And then when I saw the Power Platform, I saw the potential that, this could be helpful for the dynamic side. And then now that it's actually in transition to becoming more into the dynamic side platform, I feel more hopeful. And then I like the idea. And then, I've been really, really deep into that one. So now I'm switching between, the dynamics and the Power Platform. But also, keep in mind that, my roots behind on the dynamics. So, when I talk about Canvas apps or, when I talk about, model-driven applications and CDS, I'm talking to the people that, I know that they understand the dynamic side. And then I'm just trying to bring it into the Power Platform.
So what's your key bit of advice to people in SharePoint that kind of want to learn CDS?
Oh my God, that's interesting. Because right now I'm actually with a friend of mine. He's actually asking me all kinds of questions regarding that. He had a customer that they have like ton and all types of lists on SharePoint. And then trying to build all that relationship. And I'm telling them, this is actually the best case scenario, where you can actually define, how for them to transition their learning and their, the pain points that they're having right now into SharePoint list into the CDS, because they're trying to emulate the CDS. And then, they're trying to emulate everything. They're trying to emulate it because they like the interface. They like that they can do everything on the UI. And that's actually what the CDS brings, brings the, the relationship of the entities, which is one of the things that they're looking for. Another thing, they're having limitations right now on some of the lists because they're actually exceeding or hitting the limit for the exceeding amount of records that they can have. So, I said, you will not have that issue on the CDS side. And then, many other things, they wanted to, keep doing more things. They want to keep doing reporting. They want to keep, embedding things like, Power BI, charts and dashboards, and you name it. This, some of the things that, they're trying to do initially, they were actually, if they started on CDS at this point, they will have an amazing system. But unfortunately, they started on SharePoint. So that's going to be the transition that they need to go through, from the metadata, from the layout on the entities, and then, denormalize a little bit of, of those, or normalize a little bit more into the database and into the entity design, because, sometimes they have so many fields on one list that could be up to 3 or 4 entities relationships.
What's your thoughts then on, becoming an MVP? Did it change anything for you?
I can say, well, and keep in mind, this is actually my 4 months as an MVP. And then I've been actually, traveling and working so much and then, doing some, training. So far, I have not seen that, much of a change. I'm keep doing the same thing. I keep exposing myself. I keep putting myself, to the world, and then, doing videos and presentations and events and this. I feel the love now. I feel that, a lot of MVPs are like, oh, welcome to the family. Oh, okay, nice. Hopefully, I think I can be that, I can enjoy the whole MVP when I go to the MVP summit. So, I think that's going to be the top of, the cherry on top of the pie. But however, right now I'm actually getting, more in contact with the product teams. I'm getting direct, conversations with the product teams. And I think that's one of the things that I enjoy the most, having a direct conversation with the product team. And then, other MVPs that, now they're actually considering you, part of the family, and then now they're taking you more seriously. And if you want to contribute with them, they're actually helping you with that. And I think that's one of the amazing feelings about an MVP. Not too much into the the arrogance of I'm an MVP. No. It's actually more down the road, down to earth, where you actually have more collaboration with other people that are actually at your same level, or you want to learn from them.
Yeah. Okay, that's very interesting. If someone came to you and said, what are the benefits of being an MVP? What are your top 3 benefits of being an MVP? Either what you've experienced or why you even felt that you wanted to become an MVP.
The number one, I think, is that you get in touch and start, learning and talking and working and collaborating with people that, you probably seen all the time on events. And then you actually can get direct contact with them, and then have more collaboration with them. I think that's, for me, the number one. Number 2 is, you get in contact with the product team. And number 3 is that, you get a lot more details, from the product team. Something in advance, something, that you cannot make announcements yet, but, there's coming, but, at least you get more detail about that. And I really like that. Just trying to be on the top of things. I love that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Any other kind of benefits that comes to mind?
The other ones is actually you get an MVP. As an MVP, you get an MSDN subscription. I work with a company. They provide me all the products. Sometimes I wanted to have for me and my family, the products and the computers and everything. So I think that's another benefit that you get. Also that you get a Dynamics 365 that you can actually use for your tenant, for your stuff that you want to actually start producing. And I love all that. Being on top of the technology.
If someone came to you and said, I want to become an MVP tomorrow, what would you recommend they do to become an MVP? Kind of like what Pablo did with you.
Well, I will pretty much do kind of like a discovery meeting with them. I said, okay, what are you doing? How are you doing it? What are you like it? What type of MVP you want to be? Because I have some other, people that ask me, I want to be an MVP. Okay, what type of MVP are you? What is it, the work that you do? And they say, well, I do this and I do that. And they're not, they don't want to be on the front. So sometimes, I like to get more into the conversation with them and help them. And then actually, okay, what is going to be your core? What is going to be, like on my case, initially my core was Dynamics 365 CE. And now I'm switching to the Power Platform. And that's normal. That could be, some things that could happen. Later on, probably I will take, AI or, something else. And we define that. We need to define, what is going to be your core, what is going to be your main thing that you're going to be doing. And then it's actually looking into, okay, what do you like to do? Do you like to blog? Do you like to Twitter? Do you like to do videos from YouTube? Do you like to do a podcast? Because I can tell you, I love to participate in all these podcasts, but I don't have a podcast because I don't know. I feel uncomfortable, talking to the microphone and then, or talking to somebody else. I need to see the person. I need to have an interaction with somebody to be part of a podcast. Like right now we're having this conversation, and I feel that I'm talking to somebody. But if I do it on my own, I think that I don't get the benefit for that. So doing a video, I'm more comfortable because I have somebody here with me all the time. Where I can feel that I'm talking to them when I do the video, or when actually you just presenting the screen share. But that's actually interaction. Sometimes you need to do that. If the person doesn't like to do videos or doesn't like to do, podcasts, that's okay. They can continue doing, the forums, the blog posts, the Twitter, many other things that they can do.
Yeah, exactly. What when it comes to contributions, and it's one of the key things that MVPs kind of, as you talked about, you need to note it down, you need to track it, you need to provide a link to it, and then what is the reach of that kind of contribution for you? What have you found is your sweet spot when it comes to contribution? Is it doing the 1 day kind of app in a day events, or is it something else?
Fortunately, some right now, yeah, it is. The app in a days have been taking a lot of time. Number one, because it takes the whole day. Number two is because it's not only 1 day. Sometimes from my company or from other events, they wanted to do not only the app in a day, but they want to do the hackathon the next day. So I do that, the level 100 on the app in a day, and then the level 200 before the hackathon, and then we go to the hackathon. So it's getting more interesting. Another thing that I'm doing right now is I'm doing a lot of webcasting and presentations and training, not only with the English community, but also for the Spanish community. So I'm actually not only doing the English community, but also I'm actually jumping into the Spanish community. So this month in August, we're going to be doing a from zero to hero. And again, that's another training that I put together, from Power Apps, from Flow, from CDS, how to become if you don't know anything, how to become a proficient individual, designing applications and, doing administration and many other things like that. So those things, can help in not only, to participate in the community, but also, exposing as a part of the leaders, not only, creating content, but also actually making sure that, that they actually provide that content, from the perspective of a participant on an event, and also as a, leader on an event, that you're actually putting together.
So what are give me some names of the MVPs that you've done work with, either now coming into the program or prior to? Any kind of jump to mind?
Wow, I work with so many. Right now the ones that I like, that I always keep in mind. I work a lot with Jason Latimer, because we work together in the same company. It's amazing. We do several presentations. It's amazing to work with him. The guy's so laid back and and easy to work with. So he helps me a lot also. From the perspective of deep dive development on the dynamic side. But also, we did I think we did a presentation on custom connectors for Power Apps and Flow, where I did the simple connector, and he went deep dive into the rabbit hole about how to create all these amazing connectors and everything. So that's one. Another one that I can tell you is Pablo Peralta. He helped me a lot from the Hispanic community, and then many others. So sorry guys, Joel from Joel Lindstrom, that he's trying to get me in so many things, and unfortunately it's been colliding with other events and other things that I unfortunately I was actually already involved with my company. So but many people that I work now with you, that I'm finally getting into your podcast and meet you and talk to you and get connected.
Excellent. What's the next big event you're off to?
The next event is going to be, like I mentioned before, the 20 is going to be that, the webinar that I'm going to be doing.
No, as in conference.
Oh, the conference type event. There's going to be the summit, the CRMGG or the Power.
Okay, over in Orlando?
Yeah, we're in Orlando. You
awesome.
will see me there.
I get to see you there.
Of course, great. Yes. And then I'm going to do a pre-event also there. So I'm going to be doing, how to migrate your knowledge from the dynamic side to the Power Platform. So that's going to be another one that it's going to be a short training, short webcast. No, I'm sorry, no, that's not going to be a webcast. That's going to be in person, and we're going to be participating in that one. That's going to be for all my Dynamics people that they want to know how to transition their knowledge into the Power Platform and how to expand it. That's going to be an amazing event.
Yeah, totally awesome. That's so good. Okay. I always like to end with a couple of quick fire questions. So are you ready? These questions are going to have to make you think, because the answer might not just roll off your tongue, but who knows? Anyhow, here's the first one.
Okay.
Which season fits your personality? Summer, winter, autumn, or spring?
Autumn.
Autumn?
Yeah.
Why?
I grew up on a on a location on the south side of the U.S. or north side of Mexico, where you don't see the season change. So, everything's or hot or not that hot, but that's it. You don't see, winter, you don't see summer, you don't see, autumn. And then when I move into other locations, or when I was actually, like, for example, on the Washington, D.C., I noticed autumn, and I love it. I love the weather. I love the climate, I love the changing of the colors of the trees and, the season and everything. And I was like, I would love to see this more often. And I think that I like it, is for me is not that it's actually going down or slowing down or, we're going to winter, no, it's for me, it's actually a different change of color and different change of, attitude that I get at that time.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. If you could have any fictional character as your friend, who would you choose and why? It can be a superhero if you want.
A superhero? No, I like superheroes, but I would love to say, I don't know. I have so many the ones that I like. I like Hulk because he's smart and he's brute. And sometimes I feel like that. I'm smart, but I'm not that finesse. I like Stark because he got all the knowledge, but also all the wisdom vessel,
and all the toys.
All the toys, yeah. And he got all the money too.
Nice.
I love Captain America because he represents the forefront of the honesty and always taking value on things. But I don't know. I cannot say one in particular. No, that I cannot say. It's actually a thing of everybody. I like Superman because he gets a lot of things going on, but sometimes I think that that's a little bit two-way onto the dreamland. The other ones are like I feel that are more coming down to earth that could happen.
What was the last foreign country you visited?
Germany, I think.
Wow, what did you do there?
I was with Microsoft, so I was actually doing a lot of federal and public sector work. So most of the time I was actually on Air Force bases or Army bases here in the U.S. And at that time, I think we went to do a SharePoint site migration or something like that, where I was actually just helping with the dynamic side. And I went to Stuttgart and Germany. It was interesting because they sent me, I don't know who sent me to the downtown Stuttgart, and then people start understanding me when I speak in Spanish than when I speak in English. So so pretty much, yeah. When I was in Stuttgart, I speak Spanish 100%. Only when I went on base, I started speaking English.
That's so interesting. Of course, it's much closer to Spain. So,
they thought they were Spain. Like, no, I'm from Mexico. Like, where? Mexico? I don't know where is that. Like, okay, don't worry, but I'm from Spain. Don't worry.
Interesting. Abe, it's been great to have you on the show. Before you go, if people want to connect with you online, where's the best way for them to find you?
They can actually find me several places. You can find me on LinkedIn, Abe Saldana. You can find me on Twitter, Abe Ram. You can find me on my blog post, on my website, abesaldana.com. And then later on, you can find me on YouTube. I'm going to start, changing my YouTube channel. So finally, I can actually have my, Abe Saldana YouTube channel, currently in that one. So those are the areas where you can find me.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'd love to get some feedback from you on this, podcast series. So whatever podcast app you're using, please can you log in and perhaps leave a review. I've got a few reviews, I think about 8 reviews on iTunes at the moment, but I'd love to get some more. So feel free, leave a review if you're finding these kind of podcasts, talking with MVPs, understanding their journey helpful. Let me know, and I'll continue on with it. As I said before, full show notes can be found at nz365guide.com/129. See you next week.